Hello, my name is Neil Light, or Nelly. I'm applying to be part of the Jan van Eyck Residency. I'm a visual artist. I have interest in socially engaged practice, in theatre, performance, in installation, site-specific work. I've just graduated from the Royal Academy in Antwerp, uh, from the In Situ department. I've worked in theatre as a designer and a lighting designer. I've worked as a theatre maker, as a teacher of theatre. I've worked as a co-creator and a director. I've studied film, theoretically, film studies. I've used socially engaged film, documentary as part of my socially engaged practice. I've worked in education. About 15 years ago, I decided that I would change course, really, and I focused more on self-directed inquiry. I no longer felt I could really hold space and encourage or invite or provoke people into this vulnerable space, this fragile space, without me first inquiring more into my own fragility and my own vulnerability. The residency was recommended to me by Samuel Salamakers, who's the curator of public artworks in Antwerp at the Middelheim Museum, with whom I worked on a project on the City Art Collection in my pre-master year, and they were also a member of my jury in my master year. And Samuel recognized in my research interests, in my trajectory really, and my development of my articulation of my practice, that this residency will be really beneficial. I worked with Samuel on a particular area of the historic centre of Antwerp. I was interested in the monuments there, their curation, their creation, their history, the history of that particular area, the stories of the people there. I was interested in using this space as a site for exploring the individual and the collective shadow using Jungian and Freudian methodologies. I'm attracted to the diversity of perspectives and approaches within the Academy. I believe that engaging and listening and appreciating others' approaches, understanding others' decisions, really the active engagement helps one loosen attachments and to realize one's own conditioning, those things that can shape our awareness of the world that aren't really essential. And so this kind of environment can really help one clarify what's important to one's own practice. And lived in spiritual communities based around shared faith, ritual. I've lived in communities of shared intention around connection to nature and the land, around day-to-day practices of how to sustain a community and how a community impacts on the wider environment. And more recently, I've lived in community based around self-improvement, self-development, self-awareness. And in all of these experiences, what's continually interested me and informs my practice is how vulnerability and fragility is held or valued. My research centers on an idea of the unknown as public space. I understand that I understand the unknown as a quality inherent to all living systems, human, ecological, social. It appears as vulnerability, as hesitation, as doubt, as gaps in meaning. My work seeks to identify, curate, create, propagate this space of vulnerability. My practice explores how I map my own inner or personal vulnerability through diagrams, somatic maps as examples, and it explores vulnerabilities in structures, in institutional, bureaucratic protocols, in physical structures, and it really explores the relational field between my internal vulnerability and external vulnerability, and how that field can be indexed. During the residency, my intention is to develop a systematic methodology. I want to examine this interaction, this relational field between my own internal vulnerability and the vulnerability I identify in external structures. And it's about generating material outcomes, considering how artifacts, installations, and performative works emerge from this threshold state, how they are shared and exhibited,